Today, I am joined by Kerrie, a lifelong Texan, former corporate leader, and consulting hypnotist who spent decades diet stacking, always lining up the next plan before the current one would disappoint. In the March of 2024, Kerrie joined Shift and released 30 pounds by December and has maintained ever since. Kerrie opens up about a powerful moment that made her postpone this interview, an unexpected wave of grief for her younger self. The years, money, and memories lost to dieting. Instead of the old self-criticism, why can't I just stick with it? Shift helped her develop an inner coach and true self-compassion. That clarity sparked something fierce, a commitment to tell her story, push back on the diet merry-go-round, and help others shift sooner so that they can live the lives that they're meant to. We also get practical. Kerrie talks through the plateaus that used to make her quit, one lasting nearly a month, and how she moved through them with curiosity, support, and steady habits rather than panic. If you're bored, stuck, or just tired of starting over, this conversation will give you a new lens. Weight release as a relationship with yourself, not a race with the scale. So come on in and let's get started.
Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast, where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life. Sound good? Let's get started.
Hello. Welcome. Come on in. We are back for another week here at the Thin Thinking podcast. I hope you're having an awesome week so far. I was going to say good, but I'm saying awesome. If you're listening to this when this episode drops, the first week of October, I am heading tomorrow. Please don't be jealous, but I'm heading tomorrow to unleash the power within. I was going to say unleash your power, but unleash the power within with Tony Robbins. And I'm so excited. I got those tickets. It was one of those things, I never saw Elvis in his prime. I never saw Elvis, but it's like, I feel like Tony Robbins is like Elvis in a way for, inner growth. And I was like, well, I'm not going to let this one pass because we've had so many musical legends pass this year, and I kick myself every time. I was like, why didn't I see them when they were in concerts? So we're going to see Tony Robbins, and I'm very excited about it. So I will share my adventure with Tony with you in a future podcast. But for now, I want to share Kerrie, who I had such a great conversation with her, and I know you're going to get so much out of our conversation. Inspiration, motivation, insights into the weight release journey. Before I hop into our interview, I'm just going to ask you to do one thing for me, please. It's a powerful request, which is to subscribe to the Thin Thinking podcast. We don't have sponsors. We don't have, commercials or anything like that. We just keep it simple. You, me, some of my guests, and just a lot of reinforcement for your journey to weight mastery. So if you could just hit subscribe, that does a couple of things. That gets us in your inbox every week. I mean, into your, whatever platform you're on, we will appear and you will get the upcoming podcast. But more importantly for us, what it does is it gets us seen, and other people get to learn about the Thin Thinking podcast and join our powerful Thin Thinking community. The more the merrier. So if you would do that, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. And now let's hop into my conversation with Kerrie. Hello and welcome. This has been a long time coming, Kerrie. Welcome to the Thin Thinking podcast.
Hi, Rita. How are you?
I am so good, especially now that I have you here. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. We've been dancing around this for a while.
Yes, we're going to get into why Kerrie postponed our interview later, which is a springboard into a very profound conversation. But we're going to dig into her beginning origin story first. Kerrie was saying it's right now it's September, late September, and when this is airing, it will be in October. But it's still 99% humidity in Dallas where she lives.
Horrible. Horrible. We can't go outside. The dog is not even getting walked today.
Oh, poor dog. Does your dog have to wear those little booties on his paws? Does the pavement get that hot, or does it not get so hot?
Actually, Rita, it does get that hot. So we don't put the booties on him, but we walk him very early.
Oh, well, that's good.
Very, very early in the morning, if at all possible, because the concrete gets really warm and we don't want to blister him. So.
Yeah, you forget we have an older dog. He's 17, little poodle, and we took him. We get very enthusiastic about his ability to move and hike. We forget that now he's really bad, but last year we thought, oh, he can go hiking up in the Sierras with us, and we ended up. And it was not only that, but it was rocky and it was hot, so we forgot about that part. We were, we said, oh, we can just pull them along with us, but you forget their little paws get on those hot rocks, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So now, Kerrie, you were telling me you started out east of Dallas, and I'm kind of curious when you started struggling with weight. Like, how old were you when you kind of started to fall into that weight struggle cycle?
I really think my story is a lot like everyone else's. I was around 13 or 14 years old and realized I was bigger than all the other kids, or all of the girls that were in my group. They were all cheerleader types, and they were tiny, and I was not. And I got my height really early, 5'7.5", at around 13 or 14, which I probably was, looking back, I probably wasn't fat. I was just tall, and I was just bigger. I was just in a bigger body. And
did your mom or dad struggle with weight? Like, was there any weight challenge in your family?
No.
Okay.
My parents were smaller than me. They're smaller humans, smaller bodies. And no, my weight, I noticed it when I started looking at teen magazines, and I didn't look like everybody else. Why don't I look like that? How come I can't wear those clothes?
Were you growing up in the 70s? I'm just wondering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Early 70s.
Okay.
So Twiggy.
Yeah.
The really tiny
super skinny and super skinny little jeans. I remember,
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys had those jeans. We had them in Seattle. They were called Novas. They had a little triangle on the back, and they looked
Mhm.
really great on thin people. They look very great on me. They cut right into my, shelves on my thighs. And they cut right in.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty. But anyway, but
Yeah.
I love my body. I love my shelf thighs. But so, and you grew up in Texas. Was there a skinny aesthetic there too?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the teen magazines and is where I got my first diet
Oh,
whenever I was 13 or 14 years old. Because I wanted to look like all my friends.
hmm,
And
yeah. I
so,
totally get that. So you found, oh, that's interesting that they were putting diets in. They probably wouldn't do that anymore in teen
and it
magazine.
was horrible. I still kind of remember it to this day. I remember my mom putting the ground beef underneath the broiler in the kitchen, and my mother was very helpful. She knew that I was chubby and struggling, and she couldn't figure out why because nobody else in the family was heavy. And but so she was very helpful. A can of Campbell's soup for dinner. It was just weird. It was a weird diet, I'm sure. So,
Oh,
but I dropped the 20 pounds so over summer.
and so then did that begin, did you stay in that lighter weight for a while, or did you bounce back up and kind of start struggling?
Well, Rita, it's kind of that same story that just became the norm. I would drop 20 pounds, then it would be the next diet, whatever they were publishing in the magazine, and I would try this and that. And in high school, I remember instead of going to lunch with my friends, I would run home and eat these little chocolate candy bites.
Oh, we were talking about those in a meeting the other day. We were
Yeah,
AIDS.
AIDS, correct. I would eat a couple of those, and then I would run back, and I told them that I was going home to eat lunch, and so I missed all of the social events, all
Oh.
of uh, the bonding that happens. And so it was just one diet after another. The diet pills, the shots. I did the fin,
Mm.
just one thing after another. It was. I even later in life I did I searched out hypnosis, and
Mhm.
you know what? It worked
Mhm.
until it didn't.
Mhm.
And there was something definitely missing from it. But I could tell that the hypnosis gave me something else. It had other benefits, but yet, my focus was to lose weight. So we gotta move on. So I would go on um, and I would do this really weird thing Rita, I was going to tell you. I would do this thing, and I would call it diet stacking. You ever heard of that?
No, but I've heard of cognitive stacking
No,
and
no. This is something.
stacking. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. I always
diet.
called it diet stacking.
Yeah.
So I would start a diet, and in the middle of that diet, I would start looking for the next one because I knew this one wasn't going to work. And so I would start the next one. I mean, I would get the next one lined up,
Yeah.
either paid for or lined up or planned or whatever. And I would call it diet stacking because I knew that first one wasn't going to work. And so my theory is if I started another one really fast, I would start that diet before I'd gain my weight back.
I That's brilliant.
But you know what? It doesn't work.
It's like a
That
sport.
Yeah, it was. It was a sport. It was a hobby. And
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, it's a full-time hobby, isn't it?
yeah, I was continuously. I
When you
was
were diet stacking, how old were you? Was this like in your 20s, your
in
30s?
30s.
Okay. All
30s.
right. So
Yeah.
you kind of knew yourself better and you knew like this one ain't
Mhm.
gonna last that long. So let me line up the next one and the next one. And
Oh yeah.
that totally makes sense from a cognitive perspective because of dopamine, right? Like we need that next thing to keep us in the game and excited and our brain,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because we've been talking a lot about the idea of how we get in the habit of losing that 10 and gaining it back and losing that 10 and gaining it back, like that sort of well-worn path between the 10 pounds we all know how to lose, but it's like
Absolutely.
that we don't know how to keep going part of it. How do I keep going? How do I stay? So where and then so I'm assuming this just kind of did the stacking keep going, or did you kind of give up on the stacking and then settle into some other sort of
I was on a nonstop diet from the time I was 13 or 14 until I was on the shift. So there would be, like the few months where I would gain in between one diet and another, but it was a full-time job just keeping the next diet in line.
yeah.
And I would always gain it back. And sometimes I would even gain while I was on some diets because some diets just whatever, for
Yeah.
whatever reason I couldn't get it or didn't do it or whatever it was, it didn't work. And I would gain weight, or the drug would make me feel bad, or and there was nothing did not try. There was nothing. And I was a lifetime Weight Watchers member from the time I was 18. Sometimes I would be on Weight Watchers on another diet to maintain my membership.
Okay. I love that. That's diet stacking, and then that's diet. What is that? Diet
I
pivot?
don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm laughing, but it's sad.
It's
I'm laughing, but
painful.
it's
It's
sad. And
painful. Oh my
painful, and the
God.
time and the money and the effort and the missed events and the missed opportunities. And I would avoid food, anything that had anything to do with food. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be involved because I couldn't eat that because of whatever
Right.
I was on.
I would imagine you just didn't trust yourself. That's how I felt.
Mhm. And I have an aunt, and she's 101 now, and
Oh my
she
goodness.
lives close to me, and I visit her weekly, and she always tells this story, and I know she doesn't think it's sad, but she thinks it's a sweet story, but every time she tells it, it breaks my heart, because the story is that she came to my house whenever I had one of my children. She was my little girl, and Tiffany. She was about 4 years old, and they came to my house and they wanted to take lunch. Well, I can't go to lunch. I'm on a diet of some kind, and so I tell them I can't go. I'm on a diet. And so she tells the story, and you couldn't go because you were on the diet. So we took Tiffany and we went out to eat. And we had a great afternoon, and she tells the whole story. And she said, and she tells another story, and oh, but you couldn't go because you were on the diet, or what diet was it you were on that day? And so the diet become part of who I was.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. It's so painful, isn't it? It's when you hear it and how did your kids like what did your kids think of your perpetual dieting? How many children did you have, Karen?
I have
Yeah.
two. I
Okay.
have a girl and a boy.
Okay.
Neither one of them have ever said anything, and I don't think we've ever had a conversation around it. So,
Interesting. Okay. So you
yeah,
didn't you didn't have it out there public for them. That was something you kind of kept
I
to,
tried to.
yeah.
Yeah, I tried to. Now I know my daughter, knew, and she doesn't really have a weight problem. She's conscious of her weight, but she doesn't. Neither one of them are overweight or anything. So,
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah. So yeah, it you know, but that it became who I was. That's who I was.
Yeah.
Depending on what they tell, whatever story they tell. Oh, and what diet was it you were on that time? Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah. So what brought you to shift in like how, so you had tried hypnosis before.
Mhm.
Why were you intrigued to try it again, or did you just find shift, or how'd you?
Well, I did try hypnosis off and on through the years because there were so many other benefits around it. So I used it. I used hypnosis while I was in corporate America, and I used it in training and some other different things, and it worked great for everything else except the weight loss. I just never really worked, but for me. And then when I got about when I got about 55, I guess, or so, I made a deal with myself that I would stop dieting when I turned 60.
Hmm.
Whatever weight I was, that's what I would be. So there was a mad dash to weight loss at that point, because when I turned 60, I couldn't diet anymore. So so right after I made that promise to myself, I had the opportunity to leave corporate America. And I said, voila, I will start my own business. This is what I will do. I will start my own business. I will become a hypnotist.
Mm.
So I went and got certified as a consulting hypnotist, and I opened up a hypnosis clinic or consulting business. And we were very successful. I helped a lot of people over a few years, and
What,
they
what kind
lost weight, they fought fears, beliefs, um, uh, limiting beliefs, fear of flying, spiders, water, dogs.
Wow. So you kind of worked in a lot of areas.
Yeah, smoking, quit smoking, and weight loss, of course. And I would lose weight during this, and I did. I lost weight. Well, after about a year, I realized that not only was I struggling with my weight again and couldn't keep it off, and I was a hypnotist, and I understood what was happening, and my clients had lost weight, and they were now gaining their weight back. Smokers were doing good. Everybody else is doing good. What? There's something missing here. What's not right?
Right.
And so at then my 65th birthday started to approach, and I closed down the business because, hey, this is not working. I'm not losing weight. I can't maintain my weight. I can lose it, but I can't maintain it, and I can't help my clients maintain their weight. So I failed. Not only again, I've wasted time. I failed. I'm a failure.
Oh,
And and then it was just before my 65th birthday, and I had put for the couple of years after I shut down my business, all I did was focus on body peace and body love, and just loving myself, and no diets. And I just kept getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And I was sleeping 2 or 3 hours every afternoon just to have the strength to make it through the evening. And I'm like, there's something not right. And I ran across you, Rita,
hmm.
and I understood hypnosis,
Oh,
and I saw that your techniques were very close to what I had always done. How could this possibly work? And then I watched you, and I said, whoa, she's taking it deeper than I even knew possible. She's doing more than I even knew how to do. And I'll give you 30 days, Rita. I'll give you, that was my deal. I'll give you 30 days. And I did that, and oh my gosh, nobody was more surprised than I was whenever it worked. It was different.
Yeah. Was it, did you feel like because it was getting more at the foundational piece, the relationship with yourself,
Yes. Yes, there was so much more to weight loss than a diet. It's not about it's not a diet.
Mhm.
It's not about a diet. It's about your relationship with yourself, I think.
Yeah.
A whole lot. There's just a whole lot of pieces to it. I always liken it to peeling an onion. There's layers, and that that's what your program does. Is it takes all those little pieces and a layer at a time, and it's a process. And
Yeah.
um, and at the end of the 30 days, instead of losing or releasing that 20 pounds that I had lost over the last 50 years over and over again, to my surprise, it was 30 pounds
Mhm.
instead of 20. And it was just the combination of all the right pieces of the puzzle. And that's what the shift was for me. It was the missing pieces to the puzzle for me. And it changed everything. Not so much more than just my body. Once I didn't need the naps every day, I found myself bored, and I got a part-time job at a boutique here in town and worked a few hours. And my everything changed, Rita. I became a model for
Oh my
that.
goodness.
I started modeling for the boutique. Yes, pictures, videos. I mean,
I love it.
uh, my family and friends, they were like, "Who is that?" you know, it, I mean, everything changed. Yes, the clothes size changed, but everything around, because it's kind of what, like I was telling you earlier, I see things differently.
Hmm.
I don't see things the same way I used to see them. And I became I became the best version of me that I could be.
I believe that. Well, since we're here at this point, I'd love to talk about what we were talking about earlier and why you were maybe a little hesitant to talk to me earlier because I asked Kerrie a few months ago because I knew she had been maintaining her weight. I said, "Hey, Kerrie, you want to come on and talk about your journey?" And you said yes, and then you said, "You know what? I can't do it right now." And maybe you want to walk us through that. Would you mind?
Yeah. So you asked me to do the interview, and I was like, yeah, I'm maintaining my weight. I'm doing good. I love shift. Sure, I'll tell the story. Then I started thinking about the story, and I became overwhelmed with grief and sadness, that a grief and a sadness that I had not ever felt before. And it was for that younger me. I was thinking about all that she had given up, all the years of dieting and the cost that it had costed her and her family. And so I called Rita and I said, "Hey, I can't do this. I'm just overwhelmed. I can't do it." And then I thought about where that grief and stuff was and what I was feeling. And then I realized that before the shift, when I would think about my weight loss journey, I would have been mad at myself. I would have been upset. I would have, you know, thinking about all those failed attempts, all that wasted money. You know, you stupid idiot, what are you thinking? You know, you just keep screwing up. And, you know, that I would have beat myself up. But now, after being with the shift, it was sadness and grief that I was feeling. And it's because I don't think the same anymore. I think differently. All I was thinking about was the pieces of my life that I had missed, the opportunities I'd missed. And so I worked through that grief. And then I got mad, as you kind of do when you go through grief. And I got mad. I got mad at the diet industry for all it had taken from me and all it had taken from my family. And I became strong. And I called Rita and I said, "Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to fight back. I want to tell this story because I want to say whatever it is I need to say to someone out there that gives them the strength to move forward and save them from wasting any time." Because the shift actually just made me think differently. And I want anyone out there that hears this to shift now. Shift your thinking and create the life in a way that you can be healthy and happy and live your life the way you were meant to live. The shift just makes me think differently. And that's why I wanted to tell my story. And that's why I felt like it was so important for me to say this.
Wow. Well, thank you. I think if I can kind of recap that, is that yes, the shift opened a door for you, but what truly changed was your ability to communicate with yourself. And you are the hero in the story. And I think that grief is something I want to talk about because I think a lot of people don't realize that when you really know you're done with that world, it's so painful, that world of struggling. And, you know, it's so when you're in that world of struggle, all you do is you're so mad at yourself because you know better, you know what to do. And all that self-abuse. And then it's kind of like when you get on the other side of that, because I remember I went through your story really is touching me because I'm sitting here thinking about when that happened for me too. And I think about, oh my God, I've been so hard on myself and I kept myself from living my life. You know, I kept myself from wearing bright clothes. I kept myself from dating and putting myself out there with work and you know, I know your story and my story are not alone. There are a lot of people out there that, you know, and that is why it is. I look at my mom too, who struggled desperately, and the last half of her life was such a struggle, and she never really fulfilled herself. And to me, that's just tragic. Mm-hmm. And so I'm so thankful that you felt like you had the strength to come and speak, because I agree with you that I think one of the things that we don't really reflect upon enough is it's not, you know, the weight as much as it is this relationship with ourselves that holds us back. And that and when you can start to really develop that inner coach. I think that is what was the difference for you. Um, and obviously as a hypnotherapist, you did, you were a coach for other people and you gave them strength. But it's like when you really get that voice engaged in you, you become a lot more fearless because you know that even if you make a mistake, fall apart, that, hey, it's okay. Let's just get back up and let's just keep going.
Yeah. Like I said, I just think differently. Yeah, the scale goes up a couple of pounds. I don't even flinch. I know exactly what to do. It's just you just think differently.
Yeah. I know I wanted to kind of dive into one more thing because I know you said in your 30-pound weight release journey, how long did that take you to do?
From March to December.
That's right.
So
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that. And you said you hit some plateaus along the way. And
yes.
since you're being so inspirational, Kerrie, I want you to help me inspire people who might be stuck on plateaus out there that, because there is definitely, that's one place where people give up, is that plateau and we give up or we get bored or we lose focus. And so what was different for you this time? Like when you were, how long was the longest plateau you had on your weight release journey?
It was almost a month. It was
Okay.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's like 3.5, 4 weeks. Um, I would say, looking back at my story as I think about it, the plateaus are probably where I usually bailed out and started a different diet.
Mhm.
Because it's hard. You're not losing weight. You're not getting the dopamine hit on the scale.
Mhm.
You may feel different, and you're doing everything right, and it was no different with the shift. I'm looking at the scale and I'm like, it's not moving. But what was different with as I was going through the shift during the plateaus was the coaches that supported me in the Facebook. They really got me through that because fortunately I had the wherewithal to reach out and say, hey, well, what the hell? I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, and I'm not gonna go on a diet, and I'm not gonna eat any less. So tell me how do I make that scale move? And then something clicked inside, and I just realized that as long as I was doing what was good for my body and I felt good, even if the scale didn't move, then I was going to be okay with that. And I would just keep doing it because the coaches and Rita were telling me just keep moving forward. I mean, because if I didn't, what was my choice? So eat a box of cookies and go look for another diet. Well, I'm not doing that. I'm 65 years old. I'm not doing that. I'm not playing that game anymore. Yeah, I've learned, and so I just every day would go, well, I know I did everything right. My body's just doing what my body needs to do, and maybe it's just got some healing that it needs to go through. And I would just keep pouring the good stuff in and walking, and all of a sudden the scale would start dropping, and I would go, oh, there you are. Huh, that works. And it did exactly what the coaches and Rita were saying is
Were you using your inner scientist at all to say, okay, well, the scale probably owes me, or the scale, good.
Yeah, I did the math. I did the math. The first time I had a plateau, I did the math, and I was like, oh yeah, I owe the scale, kind of thing. And then the second plateau was probably the hardest because it was the longest, and it was that last 10 pounds. And I was okay if I didn't really release it, but I was like, I should be, because that's what everything tells me that I should be doing, and I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to experiment with this and see what happens. And it did. The scale did just eventually move. And but what I did find out is, or I believe, and is that it works the same way once you reach your goal. Is your body is just as forgiving the other way too.
Mhm.
Um, you can have that extra 300 calories or that extra meal or extra cookie or whatever, and your body kind of goes okay, and it just keeps it at that weight
Yeah.
as long as you just keep moving forward. And if the
Yeah.
scale goes up a pound or two, then you know exactly what to do, and it
Yeah.
goes back down.
Exactly. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. I think, yeah, that really just staying with yourself is the key with and obviously for you, Kerrie, you looked beyond the scale for reinforcement, not just from the coaches, but from your life. Like what I really loved is that you came to this sort of thing like, well, I'm not going to go back to that old thing because that's not where I want to be, especially with my mind. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing because that works for me, even if the scale isn't doing what I want it to do. That
Exactly.
relationship with that intimacy with that part of you develops and grows during plateaus. I think it's an opportunity for,
Mm, absolutely. I agree. I agree. There's something to be learned inside the plateau. Your body is just telling you, hey, there's just a little bit more you need to learn, because you're looking at everything. You're tweaking, looking, being the scientist. Yeah, there's so much to learn from the plateaus,
yeah.
and so
Well, this has been so wonderful, Kerrie. I would love to ask you one last question, if you don't mind, unless there's something more you wanted to dig
no,
into. Okay.
no, I'm good.
Because you've been very vulnerable and very generous with your time. I usually ask this question, which is, so if you've listened to me interview people, it's just like, what would be the first step? If somebody was feeling like you were feeling, like going from one diet to another. And again, I'm not looking for like sign up for the shift, but I'm saying like, what would you have them do for themselves? Or what little action could they take to, move out of that old place and move into the new?
They have to know, they have to believe that in order to succeed, they have to keep moving forward. And to
Mm.
keep doing what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten, you know?
Mhm.
So every diet ends the same.
Mm.
Try something different,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. Well, we could have a whole conversation on the diet industry, but we won't. Well, thank you so much. I hope the humidity goes down. I'm sure it will. So what happens I was telling Kerrie I've never been to Texas. I plan to go, but I just never have. Um, at what point in the year does the humidity drop, or does it stay humid even in the winter time?
No, it will drop probably within the next 5 days. Uh, Fall will arrive, and it will drop, and we will be able to breathe again. And winter will arrive. All will be well, but that last week or two of Texas summer before the fall hits is humid and it's hot. So yeah, we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah. Is the winter though is it cold there or is it not so cold?
It is cold, but it's not continuous. So it's warm, then it's cold, then it's warm, then it's cold. So it just doesn't last. The cold doesn't ever last more than a few days. So
Interesting. Well, it sounds a little like Southern California, except a lot more humid, probably a lot more
yeah,
moisture in the air, a lot better hair.
it's just humid. So
Well, thank you so much for your time, Kerrie.
you're
This has been a
welcome. Thank
joy and a real contribution. Thank you.
Wow, Kerrie, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and powerful in your speaking. I really, really appreciate you and appreciate having you here in our community. And thank you, listeners. Thank you, Thin Thinking listeners. I wish you a wonderful week. I will send good vibes your way from Tony Robbins in Unleash the Power Within. And Anaheim, if you're there, maybe we'll run into each other. That would be awesome. So have a great week, and remember that the key, and probably the only key to unlocking the door of the weight struggle, is inside you. So keep listening and find it. I will be here raring to go next week. I hope you will too.
You want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release? Head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com, where you will find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking, Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss.